Hey guys, it's Al from Altruistic Channel. I don't know why I say it like that, but it cracks me up. Anyway, so the reason I'm actually putting out this video tonight is because I wanted to kind of address something that someone had mentioned about critics and people who kind of like try to tear you down. Here's the interesting part of that, and the reason why I wanted to address it is that it was in reference to the book that I have out, the Arcs to Eden. And in it, it has a lot of controversial topics and things that I very point blankly addressed. And so it was kind of aimed in that direction. So I just wanted to clarify from what I can understand in life in general. There's a difference between people who are trying to tear you down and people who have different mindsets. And it's a very important distinction to make in life because when you think that someone's tearing you down, you can get triggered, but more importantly, you can also not get triggered and decide to respond to them in a way that shows that you are not to be messed with. And so you alienate people who just maybe you had a learning opportunity there where you were going to be a teacher. Remember, we're the vessels. We're supposed to record and we're supposed to just be involved without getting actually physically involved. And so I just wanted to address it because I realize that even I fall in that trap where every now and then I get overly assertive or overly aggressive with people who could just be from a different mindset. You know, it's not like I think that I'm any better than anybody else. And so I should never go at something on the attack without first feeling the energy that needs that type of reaction. And so it's important for us, I thought, to discuss what that would play out like. Because someone who, let's say, is Catholic, heavily Catholic, is going to have an issue with my directly addressing the Pope and the Catholic Church with the whole child molestation relocation program they got going on. But it wouldn't be from a standpoint of attacking me per se. It would be like, why did I do that? Why did I say that so clearly? And so instead of me just politely addressing it, I could have been like, this stupid motherfucker, what the fuck are you talking about? They relocate predators or children. But instead it would be a learning opportunity. And so it's that slight switch that all of us get with wisdom. But it's one of those things that it's just the slightest of things that can alter that interaction. If you had a bad day or that you're homeless and you're having a bunch of issues going on, if you don't catch yourself and if you're not constantly present, that's why people are so big on being present, is because when you're present, you can catch the essence of something without jumping the gun or without being overly aggressive. And so I just wanted to put that out there. It's one of those things that it's what alienates us from each other to a large degree. You know, just because you don't agree with my book and you find it controversial doesn't mean that you're not going to find it, one, entertaining, because I do have a sense of humor. It's a little wicked. But also the fact that I don't sugarcoat things and I don't sidestep topics. I deal with everything from race to sexism to homophobia to stuff. But it's all about ascension. It's all about how to look at it from a higher frequency, because I find it to be very important for people to understand that it's not all sunshine and roses. It's not going to be rainbows all the time. Sometimes it's going to be rather opposite of that. And so the greatest lesson that I could have learned is the fact that in order to graduate over the physical, I would have to actually, in order to process this in a level of controlling the physical world, would be to lose everything and to keep my balance and to keep my tone and my level up. And so it's been a challenge. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but it's part of the journey, right? Because at the end of the day, here's what I do, and this is just me personally, but actually I think Natalie gave me the idea to do it this way. Give yourself a certain amount of time. Be a bitch for 15 minutes, or throw a pity party for yourself for 20 minutes, whatever it takes, and then just go about your day afterwards. But stop it at that time frame. The interesting part, though, is that with this type of energy, especially as we're heading into this Piscean moon, there is a lot of Neptunian energy around us, and it's all I'm used to it. My mom was a Pisces, and so I'm also a water sign, so for me, I'm kind of looking at it like, I don't feel like getting into the water. I'm just going to stand over here. It's a little chilly. I'm used to the water. I'll be right over here. You guys all go dip into the oceans, and you get your little fill of it, and don't be surprised if you end up in a really weird place, or if people start to float by you, or you end up having a conversation with God Himself, or you end up, I don't know, talking to your mom or a dead person or something, and epiphanies and these things just start to materialize in your life. And you have a choice. Either you can trust it, or they get to come back stronger and more important and more in your face. And so instead of teasing the cosmos, just take the journey and just plunge if you need to. But for me, I don't necessarily need to keep doing that because it's not from ascension. It's just because I'm a water sign. And so even though I'm now more of a fire the water is very familiar to me. It's very warm. It doesn't shock me. It's just kind of like, oh, did I just see some? Did I just see something lift and float by my head? Probably. Or out of the corner of my eye, I see somebody pass me, and I go, hello. Roll with it. I mean, even if it's all delusions or whatever the scientific community wants to say, because they can't catch up to it. Sorry, that was a little bitchy, but I can do that. All things considered, I'm having one of those lives that no, I'm kidding. But it's true. Like, what is the big deal? I never understand this. What is the great concern that other people have with what you believe in? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, does it actually influence their life? Does a scientist who only believes in science, who conveniently forgets the fact that first they had to think of the question that they're trying to solve or the anomaly that they're trying to make work, they had to think of it first. It takes imagination. It takes a leap of faith in order to think of it. And then to prove it is even more of a leap of faith. So how do you then justify looking at someone who believes in God or someone who believes in spirituality or a higher calling or a higher purpose and then look down on them when you couldn't do what you did without doing the same process? It's a very interesting dynamic that exists between that. And so I always find it very interesting that people are so worried about me being spiritual and, oh, you believe in God and you're a God man. First of all, I fucking fuck God. It's like, God thinks I'm great, but that doesn't mean that, it's like I'm going to be Catholic at any point again, And not until they rectify that whole child molestation thing. But also, a person of the clergy would never say some of the things I say. They would never say it. But at the same time, I would equally point out that I wouldn't do what any of them do. So you see what I'm saying? But I would never downplay someone else in order to feel superior than someone else. Just because you lack vision doesn't mean that the other person can't have vision. Just because you have no imagination doesn't mean that the other person can't have imagination. In fact, everything that progresses society forward is built on assumptions, assholes, and and the ability to take leaps of faith. None of it happens and it's handed to you. You have to earn it. And if you're a scientist and you have never taken a leap of faith, then you're not a scientist. You're just a clerk. That's where you're at. You are a clerk or some sort of assistant because you would have to have taken the same leap of faith that the rest of us are taking with spirituality in order to get where you're going. A true scientist can never prove something if they haven't first realized that it's not there yet, which takes imagination. So we're back to the same thing. So I've never understood that whole thing about telling me that I can't believe in ascension or that there's something wrong with me because I believe that I can talk to the divine. I read a book today. I was at the library, Killing Time. And the whole thesis, there was a whole chapter on how it's all make-believe and how... But meanwhile, they went into a whole conversation about reptilians and then went into a whole chapter on the airplanes going over our heads and having trails, chemtrails. And that's what the planes are. And I was like, well, that's an interesting take. But the entire time they were like making fun of people who didn't believe that, but they believed in ascension, or they believed that they could talk to God, or they could believe that they could talk to spirits, and then pointed out logically why that didn't make that the person they were referring to wasn't actually speaking to God. It was a scam. And then I just thought about it for a second. I'm just like, but why is that your fucking business? If that gives someone closure, that it is understanding or believing that this person can actually speak to their parents, and it closes that chapter in a loving way, what the fuck is your problem? Like, grow a dick, dude. Why don't you get a real job? Why don't you do something of your own that takes imagination? Why you break down other people? Is that how sad you are? And it just made me feel icky about, like, this person, because I was just like, why does it matter to anyone else what you think? At the end of the day, we can't progress without innovation and without pioneers. We don't need other Nancy asses who sit there and go, well, that doesn't make sense. That can't be real. Meanwhile, the entire time you're married to a gorgeous woman with no dick and you have a gut that's like 500 pounds wide, that defies reality, okay? So stick to what you know. And so it's one of those things that just makes me laugh. And so I just wanted to kind of address it. I can't believe this went into such a different tirade. I can't speak. Mercury's fucking retrograde. Uncle Mercury. So just understand, guys, that this is a very interesting time. But understand that it depends on your day as well. Always show up. That's why they say be present for every moment of your life. is because you miss so much. And it's not even worth it. Like, if you just were paying attention, imagine who you would have been married to. What if you know, I mean, I apparently have run into my soulmate, the person that I'm supposed to be with, that God designed for me, if you will, or that we were made to be together in a very holy union of some kind. I don't understand it yet either. It hasn't happened, so I'll let you know when it does. But the point is that it's coming down the pike, apparently. That's why sometimes I go, maybe I'm chosen, maybe I'm not chosen. Once, I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like the Hierophant. Sometimes I'm just going, maybe I'm just a teacher. Because, like, I don't ever suppose that my information is any stronger or any better than anybody else's. I'm just very open to other people. And I love the idea of learning, and I like the quest for knowledge. And so if I get something that really makes sense to me and it solidifies a journey that I've taken, I'm going to share it. Because at the end of the day, I'm building a legacy. I'm all about the empire. I'm all about making sure that my great, 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 great grandkids has a legacy that they want to inherit. And trust me, my family dynamic is it was a nightmare. Like, we have so many curses and so many things that were trapped in our bloodline from who we are, that it was like almost to the point where this lifetime, I was never going to succeed. I can tell you straight up. I was never supposed to succeed this life. Me and my family were supposed to suffer even more because of karma that the family had gained throughout history. And the interesting part is that it lends itself to understanding better who you are as a soul, because the divine doesn't just the divine doesn't give people more than they can handle, even though you can't feel that sometimes because of the severity of what you're experiencing. But a lot of us are trying to understand how to be a humanitarian, and so we have to tap into the Christ consciousness. In order to do that, you have to feel the betrayal of what it must have felt like to die for the sins of man. In truth, though, as I point out in the book, it's kind of more of the sins of his brother, Adam, that he died for, because that's a whole different subject. Just picture a wheel with four parts. Adam falls, middle. Then Christ pays, and then resurrects and comes back up. That's the wheel. Anyway, moral story is, it doesn't matter whether or not you agree with somebody. Understand that by being present every day, you're going to accomplish so much more, and you're not going to miss as much. Don't ever downplay anybody else's belief. Let them believe what they want to believe, because at the end of the day, how does it affect your life? It doesn't. If it is beneficial to someone, then it's worth that existence. There are more ways to be honest, and there are more ways to be true and still have other truths be true at the same time. In fact, you will find that everything is true with the right lens. And that's it for me on Alan Altruistic Channel. Later.